Hi, my name's Claire. This is Peachy Keen Pans. Welcome back. I wanted to film a chatty get ready with me today, but also specifically chatting about new makeup releases. I really love watching those kind of videos. There are so many of them now, and so many new releases just constantly. So yeah, it always, I guess, generates a lot to talk about. But yeah, given that it is my first time doing one of these, I thought I'll limit myself to the things that I actually have any thoughts about. Certainly there's a lot of makeup that's released that I just have zero opinion on, in the sense that I am not at all interested. Nothing about it speaks to me, nothing about it makes me want to try it. So I wrote out a bit of a list. I was looking through I think Indie Makeup Hotspot or Indie Makeup Spotlight, and then Trend Mood, and was also paying attention to the brands that I'm interested in recently. And I have written down 12 products that I will talk about. And actually, yeah, I'll be getting ready while I do that. Really the only reason for that is that I haven't put on any makeup yet today, so I thought I might as well do it on camera while I go through some of these things and try and bring together my thoughts about them. I do tend to be, I think, quite opinionated about makeup. I think because makeup is so emotional to me, because it really is such a genuine excitement when there is something coming out that I really like the look of. It's easy for me to also see when there's not that excitement, and maybe where it could have been more exciting, where there was potential. So yeah, I will maybe get out a couple of the things that I'm going to put on my face so that they're here, and then jump into it. Okay, so I've got a few of my base products out. I'm going to start with sunscreen. This is the Ultraviolet Lean Screen. It's very matte. If you have oily skin, would recommend. It's an Australian brand, so I'm not sure how accessible it is everywhere else, but this is really truly a matte sunscreen. So in terms of new makeup releases, I'm trying to think what to start with. I feel like I might actually start with some of the holiday releases, because I historically have been someone who really does enjoy holiday makeup collections, especially when I was a bit newer to the world of makeup. I feel like it was just a very big thing at that time a couple of years ago. Certainly Too Faced's holiday collections every year were so exciting to me. And yeah, so I think that's actually exactly where I'll start. Maybe first of all with that pumpkin pie palette that they have, I don't know if it's been released or just, you know, shown, but my goodness, I mean, I don't think any of us are surprised at this point, but I do just think, and I'm sure that everyone else is saying this too, it's so repetitive at this point. The color scheme that they use is basically the same each year. It just is a shame, because I do think, obviously the pumpkin, yeah, so the pumpkin pie palette, whatever they've called it this year, is sort of the nod to the American fall time. We would call it autumn here, but the fall, and it seems like seasonally that's a really big deal, I guess for Americans, but also elsewhere. And yeah, I'm sure that there are more interesting, maybe more saturated, more unique color stories that they could do. I mean, even when I think about it, like to go a bit more orange, green, red, to go a bit, like even chuck in an orange, green, multi-chrome, a deep red. I feel like these colors could be really beautiful in a palette like that, that is still mainstream enough. I mean, maybe that is what they're doing, is they're just kind of releasing for people who want a more neutral palette. However, in a market that's so saturated with neutral eyeshadow, I don't know what, like, who they're trying to target with something like this exactly. I mean, I do think we who are, those of us who are very, very interested in makeup, can become a little jaded, and maybe this is exactly the kind of thing that is exciting to someone a bit newer to it, or someone who's less focused and, you know, keeping up with releases and stuff. However, yeah, I just think it's a missed opportunity. A missed opportunity to make a more orange color story. Literally just a more orange color story could hit it. The reason I kind of started with this as well is because I am such a fan of scented makeup, and really the only Western makeup brand that's doing a lot of scented makeup is Too Faced. I have their gingerbread palette and modified it a bit myself. So I'll do like this. You can see, I'm going to try to point to the right place. I substituted out this shadow and this shadow. I think this was maybe a very dark matte brown or dark purple, and this one was a dark shimmery brown. So I moved it, I made this one more orange. I just imagine that's kind of what anyone like me would want from this palette too. And would want from one that's called fucking pumpkin pie, like come on, right? But yeah, look, I think that sums up my thoughts. There's a real nostalgia for Too Faced palettes each year. I think for people who've, you know, year after year paid attention to what they've done and been sort of whimsically enjoying the seasons, really getting into the fact that the whole year isn't the same, that we go through these changes, and year by year that it marks the progression of our lives, if we're going to go deep with it. And I think that's where that love of, you know, seasonal products comes from. So I just think it makes sense that they put out one of these. Haven't even touched on the fact that it's in cardboard packaging, not tin. I don't think I care that much. I mean, I think it would make more sense for their die-hard fans to go with tin packaging, so that then the people who are collectors would have that reason to continue to collect the tin packaging. However, potentially if it's environmentally better, maybe that's a step in the right direction for other reasons. But yeah, I'll leave it at that. And I'll move on to the rest of Too Faced Holiday. I will try not to ramble as much, but again, on the positive side, I love that they have done pretty much all scented makeup as far as I can see. Certainly those cardboard palettes that they put out every year, the ones that have kind of either the stack, I think this year there's like a stack of 3, and then there's a bigger one that has face products in there as well, like blushes, maybe a highlighter. And I believe that those are all scented, which is fun. However, the tin one, it hasn't been said yet whether that's scented or not, the tin palette this year. It's also a little bizarre in terms of the color story. I mean, I know that, again, maybe it's more normal outside of our kind of very heavily into makeup world, but the fact that the packaging is just completely divorced from the color story on the inside is weird to me. So yeah, because the packaging is like a little snowman, it's pastel, it's white and pale blue, I believe, and then the color story is sort of orange, red, black. But I just think missed opportunity again to do a pastel Christmas. Like, how fucking cute would that be? Like a baby blue, a sparkly white, maybe pastel pinks. I don't think people have very high expectations, at least in the makeup loving space, of Too Faced, but yeah, I think they could have done better with this. The packaging, this adorable little snowman, it's gimmicky, it's kitschy, it's retro, and they could have leaned into that more with the color story as well. Some retro pastels, I mean, maybe like a true white matte even. I don't know if they've ever done that. They put in like a million bone shades, but not actually a matte white. Anyway, yeah. I hope it's scented. I hope so. I'm not going to be getting it anyway, obviously, but I still hope it's scented. I like that Too Faced at least sticks to their guns with that. And yeah, I don't think we've seen any lip products from them yet. So I imagine we might get another little set of 4 lip products that are some way candy themed or holiday themed. I think last year or the year before it was lip glosses, they were kind of sparkly. And then the 2 years prior to that was sets of matte liquid lipsticks. I actually had one of those sets. Still have one of those sets from, I want to say 2018. Either 2018 or 2019, but I'm pretty sure it's 2018, so a good long time ago. And I still have them. I think they're still cute, they're still working. I hardly ever wear them because I don't really wear matte lips, but you know, anyway, they're really pretty adorable, nicely scented. But yeah, so I'm curious to see if there's going to be any better releases from Too Faced this holiday season than what we've seen so far, because the first round of sneak peeks is underwhelming. I do think maybe now that also the original creators of the company have sold, well, have removed themselves from sort of creative control of the company, we might even get gradually more and more boring Too Faced stuff. I don't know. We will see. But yeah, going through holiday. The other holiday I wanted to talk about was Hourglass, because they have come out with this sort of animal packaging that looks a lot like Chantecaille, and is honestly quite, I don't know, I think quite pretty. I think the tiger one is pretty. It's like a blue background with the tigers sort of overlaid on that background. I think the is it elephant? The elephant one is a bit weird because it's just the one elephant's face on it. I did see someone comment that they thought that this looked quite, I guess quite young or a bit kind of kid-ish, maybe a bit cheaper than usual for Hourglass, that Hourglass normally has this very refined, sophisticated lady kind of vibe. And I do agree with that. It seems a bit younger, maybe a bit, yeah, less in keeping with their usual theme. I mean, for me personally, aesthetically, I'm quite drawn to the tiger one. And I do like the look of the colours included, like the blushes. But I was asking myself, is this packaging and, you know, the beauty of it or the attraction of it worth me introducing 6 new products into my collection? Because I think for some people a face palette is one product, and I get that it is. However, it is still 6 separate cosmetic products in one. Do I want 6 new blushes, albeit 5 new blushes and 1 new highlighter? Only if I like all of those shades and they are all unique to me would I then want the whole thing. So we haven't seen swatches yet. I don't know if they would be unique for me. If so, then maybe that's something I'd be getting. I mean, this is one where I'm waiting for swatches. If I really like them all, I'd consider getting it. I think the biggest thing for me actually is more just like, do I really want 6 more blushes? That is so many. I don't like having more in my collection than I can mentally picture, as in that I can really know each product really well, know exactly how it looks on my skin. And the bigger that the number of any category gets, the less likely I am to have a hole in that and really know what every product performs like. So that's kind of what stops me most of the time, I guess, for all new releases, and in particular for this blush palette as well. I think in terms of holiday, that's all I wanted to talk about so far. I'm actually going to tick these off as I go. One that I just want to very briefly touch on, the Kylie Love Fest perfume. The notes sound delicious. I think that there was an almond and a cherry note, like a black cherry note in this, which, at least in theory, sounds great to me. And I am a cherry fan. I know not everyone is, including both a fresh cherry and like a morello cherry and to some extent a glacé cherry. I do kind of like cherry across the spectrum. I also liked, like, for example, those Lime Crime wet cherry glosses. A lot of people, I think, found the smell overpowering, a bit too sweet, too sugary, too synthetic. I can be a fan of that. I can. I really want to smell that one in store. I think that's all I'll say about it, is it looks beautiful, it sounds nice. I would like to smell that one in store. If anyone does have it, let me know. Is it good? What does it smell like? I don't know. I guess, yeah, whenever I read perfume notes, I'm like, surely this won't smell like all of these things. And I know perfumes are quite complex, so that probably is the case. But yeah, that one tickled my fancy. That one got me curious. Next up, I guess I should talk about the good stuff. This is really, the top 2 on this list are the Colossal and the Glaminatrix release. So I'll get into those and I will contour my face. So the Colossal release, I was fawning over their sneak peek not their sneak peek, I guess they're like promotional videos that they were putting out. I was absolutely losing my shit over them like everyone else because they were stunning. So stunning. Like, Kaleidos is just fucking so cool. Like, there's no other way to say it. They are very cool. And their promo videos and promo photos were just as cool as ever. And I was really keen, I guess, to see what they had done, what the actual product was. And this is definitely an instance where I'm like, look, the promo and the imagery and the packaging is cooler than the product itself, in my opinion. In my opinion. So just for me, 2 purple quads, essentially. So one more neutrally purple and one more, I guess, ultraviolet, kind of deep purple. 2 purple quads and some multi-chrome liners is not kind of what I was expecting. Like, I think I do wish that they would maybe put out another bigger palette. I mean, coming from me, that almost feels a bit stupid. I really do like small palettes. However, small palettes. However, in their case, I just think that their palette with Angelica Nyqvist, I think was stunning. Also, their Flower Punk palette, really beautiful. And then their quads, I've just been not interested in. Yeah, I only own one of their palettes, and that's the Sci-Fi Green. And yeah, I guess I think, yeah, the imagery, just so beautiful. This kind of dark ethereal, like instead of light ethereal and angelic and all of that, it was kind of like this dark, murky garden or underwater kind of imagery, like a chrysalis. And like this dancer and the chrysalis was just so cool. Anyway, I think a lot of people will really like it, and I'm really happy for them, and I guess happy for people to be enjoying it, because I just think Kaleidos deserves every bit of its reputation. It's just stunning. My other, I guess, thought about that, multi-chrome liners, not really my thing. I'm not that much of a liner person in general, be it pencil, gel, cake liners, or liquid eyeliners. I'm not that much of a liner person, full stop. I think because I find them a bit more effort than eyeshadow, and I like the process of buffing out, blending out, watercoloring eyeshadow, whereas liner has to be more precise, at least, you know, most styles need a bit more precision. So I'm less inclined to enjoy that. But having said that, I did think maybe that red one, I think Solar or Solaris, something like that, they'll be on screen. But the red liner, I might get that one for my partner, because he, I have right here actually, this is his entire makeup collection. A little old black eye crayon from Body Shop and a gold eye pencil from Marc Jacobs. They are both from me. He's clearly used the black one heaps over the years, and the gold one is getting a fair bit of use now as well. And he did mention he'd like a red one, and I thought, you know what, a multi-chrome, it would be pretty cool. Pretty cool for him to have that in his, you know, total of 3 makeup items, for one of them to be a multi-chrome liner from Kaleidos. Anyway, you know, I wonder when Kaleidos is going to bring out glosses. Oh yeah, I think they've had glosses already, but they seemed really boring to me. Like, I wasn't interested. And I guess they've got the lip mask now, and they've got their cloud formula, which I think people rave about. People are very keen on that. I haven't tried it yet because I'm just not in my matte lip era, if you will. However, the black kind of intrigues me, but then people also say that the darker ones are more patchy, so haven't really decided if I will or won't get anything from that line, but I would like them to do glosses. I think they could do something cooler than what they had before, to be honest. Like, I trust them to do that. But yeah, I guess really, I think with Kaleidos, I always love their promo material and those weird digital videos that they do with like strange audio. I always love that stuff a bit more than the products. I think that's fair to say, yeah. I love their packaging, love their, yeah, both the component and the outer packaging, and those big PR things that they send. They're always just like cool and weird. I know I've used those words like so many times to talk about them now, but I am always keen for their next release, and I still am. Whatever comes next, I'm sure I'll be salivating over the promo videos just like I was this time, so keen to see it. Alright, then the other big thing that was on my list was the Glaminatrix Glamorous palette. So the Glaminatrix Glamorous palette looks really beautiful. They were sneak peeking the shadows 2 at a time, which meant that to start with I was like convinced this was going to be a modernized version of modern Renaissance, if that makes sense. Like if you look at the first couple of sneak peeks, they were very warm, pinky, purpley, and I was like, oh cool, it'll be a red, purple, pink, you know, palette that's meant to make you look glamorous, right? That's where my mind was going. And then they whip out like an aqua, and I was like, oh fuck, okay, that's like really very different from what I was expecting. Pardon my French. I thought that was pretty cool, took me by surprise, and yeah, it seems that it's very much like a purple and teal palette now. And I think again, people are going to eat this up. Like already the comments are people just losing their shit, which I kind of love. And I really do love that for Glaminatrix, because they're an Australian indie brand. They just have a special place in my heart. They were the first indie brand I ever tried. I think they are so great. And I'm really happy for them that their recent releases have gone so well. I think their palettes are beautifully curated, all their color stories stunning. None of them have yet been for me. However, they did mention, I think either on their story or on like just a little tangent on one of their posts once, that they were considering making a pastel palette, and I was like I'm there for that. I am so there for that. If they make a pastel palette, that's probably the most likely I'll be to buy a palette of theirs. So I do have a lot of singles, just not any of the palettes, because all the palettes have actually leaned quite dark, which I think is great in the sense of it being, I suppose, a more easily wearable kind of colour scheme for people across all different skin tones. I think that their colour story that they put together for Glamorous is really beautiful. Yeah, it was nice having, I actually really liked that one of them, I think her name is Laura, but I'm not too sure, but that one of the people who works for with Glaminatrix wrote all the shade descriptions, and that they were really long. I love a good long shade description. I mean, clearly, like, I crap on for ages, and I love when others do that too. So yeah, that was really, it was really fun to see them sneak peek that, and fun to see the hype around that. Again, I'm just like thrilled for Glaminatrix that they're doing so well. I hope that the success of this coming launch, which, I mean, like, I am completely confident it'll be very successful. I hope that that will mean that they're gonna actually do a pastel as well. I would love that. I'd love a pastel palette from them. Let's see what happens. Yeah. Alright. Glaminatrix, GLaDOS. Let's see. What's next? Sigma Alice in Wonderland palette. Okay. Now, as a big Alice in Wonderland fan, I got really into Alice in Wonderland as a lot of like quirky TM kind of girls did, I think, in high school. And yeah, I had like an Alice in Wonderland themed birthday party, I think for my 16th, stuff like that. And I think this palette, my thoughts on it were, when I saw it, that the colours that they've used are nicely done, in the sense that they are hitting that in between what people consider wearable, while still being relatively true to the text, the inspiration. So as I think especially in the Disney films, some of those colours are definitely there and are vibrant enough while not being just a big old rainbow palette, because really any Disney movie could just be turned into something like a rainbow palette, and that's not what they did. So I think that they balanced out, I guess, the preferences of the community, or maybe of their customer base, I should say, and the text and the inspiration quite well. The big thing that struck me with this collection is the blush highlight duo. Like, why does it look like this and not, why is it not a red blush and a white highlighter? Painting the roses red. It's literally the scene where they're painting white roses red. I think that could have been so perfect. And it could have been maybe a more wearable red. It doesn't have to be an outrageous red. I'm sure they could have done it more muted, and then it just would have been so cool. To me, that would have been really great, like inspiration to execution. I think of, yeah, a red blush and a white highlight, or if we're saying white, like maybe at least one that looks white. Maybe it has a red shift, maybe it has a green shift, whatever. I think that would have been awesome. I think maybe the other thing they could have done is gone like Cheshire Cat direction and had, say, purple blush, pink highlight. Purple blush is big right now. People are fucking losing their tits over purple blush, so why not do something like that? Could have been cool. Of course, I do understand. I get that the type of blush highlight quad duo that they've released is going to sell because it's a very palatable color story. I get that that's going to work for them. I just think there would have been more fun ways to do this. More fun for the people who actually really like Alice in Wonderland. But yeah, that was my main thought, was really about that duo. And then next up, in terms of Disney stuff, with Disney's, you know, just raking in the money all around, all the time. Yeah, the other thing was the Besame Disney Villains collection. Now, I haven't actually really sort of gone through this with a fine-tooth comb. I probably will watch maybe a couple of the videos that people do reviewing the collection, because I am interested in it. Interested in the sense that I like the look of it. I don't think I'll buy anything from it. The palette doesn't look close enough to the kind of colors that I want or need for me to get it. But it looks quite nicely done. I think that we've seen so many of Revolution, is it? And all the millions of subsets of Revolution Beauty or Revolution Makeup or whatever, and all of their collabs with Disney IPs, including the villains. I think everyone's like really over it because they're crap, at least, you know, in my eyes. Don't know about the quality. It could actually be pretty decent. I just think it's always like, they look sloppy to me, those collections. Whereas Besame, I think, has done it quite nicely. And I think it makes sense for them. I mean, the Disney villains are iconic, you know, be it queer icons or just kind of alternative icons. They are iconic, and a lot of them are really very old now. Like Snow White and the Queen, that's a colour film, so 40s maybe? I don't know, anyway, really old. Besame's era, for sure. It makes sense that they're doing this. I think it's done with a more delicate hand than Revolution's hand, say, in collaborating with this IP. So, good for them. And yeah, actually that's another one where if any of you are going to buy it, are interested, please let me know. Curious to see what, you know, what out of that collection is going to be appealing to people, because to me it's one of those things where the whole collection, the whole seems to be maybe greater than the sum of its parts. Like, I look at it and I find it attractive, but then I look at each item and I'm like, I don't think any of those are for me. But I like the look of it still, and I like that they're doing it. Now, the rest are all indie things. Yeah, actually one that I looked at quite a bit and was really curious about during their sneak peeking was the Bella Beauty Bar collaboration with M. Jones. So this palette I think is really beautiful. I think the color story is thoughtful, quite vibrant and rich, without being jewel toned, like a bright sort of deep palette without going jewel tone. So that's cool. And I really like seeing, I guess, increasingly these palettes that have cake liners in them. I mean, I say I really like it, haven't bought one at this point, and I also don't know if I will, because I have really watery eyes, so I'm just not confident that cake liners would work for me. But I feel like they're so popular right now that it will get to me at some point and I will end up with cake liners and we'll end up trying them and seeing whether or not I'm right that it would not work for me. So maybe it would work for me is what I'm saying. But I think that the color story is really beautiful. A couple of duochromes in there, and kind of a cool like neon yellow in there, which is also interesting to see. My main thought with this palette is color story is beautiful. I think the packaging is also kind of cool. However, it's one of those things with indie brands where I know that for a lot of indie brands, all their love and work, or the majority of their love, work, effort goes into the product itself, which of course is like very respectable. But I think that that's something where then you do see with a lot of indie brands and with some of my favorite indie brands that the packaging isn't particularly luxurious. And I suppose that's something where I would have loved to see a color story like that, and actually maybe this exact color story, but executed in, say, a Kaleidos way. Like I mean, I'm assuming Kaleidos just has a massive budget. I don't know exactly the ins and outs of it, but to see a palette like that done with like luxe, interesting, weird packaging, very custom, I think that would have been really exciting. And I still think the palette is beautiful, really beautiful. So it's one I'm for sure going to be watching reviews of that. I don't know if it's one that I would consider getting myself. I think the main thing that would draw me would be those cake liners. Even though, as I said, I have watery eyes and I'm not sure they would work, it'd still be like the curiosity might pull me through and be like, well, if I buy it as part of the palette, then it wouldn't be a waste if the liners didn't really work on me. That's kind of where my logic would go. Having said that, yeah, I think the color story is maybe a bit darker than what I would lean towards. A bit deeper, a bit richer. So yeah, I'll be watching the videos anyway that people do. I'm sure there'll be lots of those coming soon. And yeah, I guess I'm just happy for Bello Beauty Bar, and for M. Jones. I do really like M. Jones's work in the sense of the makeup, the aesthetic, all of that. On Instagram, I mean. I'm also like realizing this is why people don't do their makeup while doing a new makeup releases video, because I'm like barely done a face. I've done nothing. Okay, I'm gonna do my eyebrows and my beauty marks, my moles, whatever, while talking about the Nomad palette. So Nomad, Monteverde, this is another one of those palettes, I guess, that's like bright, lovely, happy looking, but I think just the colors don't appeal to me for whatever reason. I think having that many greens with also these other kind of tropical colors, it's just not really my vibe. I think when I go for greens, I am more like a pukey, army, or like swampy, yellowy green, not so much like a lush forest, or like an apple green, or those kinds of greens. So yeah, I mean, I think again, this one seems to be very well received in the world of indie makeup lovers. And yeah, all for it. It's funny because I think with Nomad is one of those brands where they always seem to have cool concepts, cool execution, but I've just never liked any of their palettes. Like none of them have ever appealed to me. Like their Castle one, Transylvania maybe it was, cool idea, cool execution, but just like not really for me. I can't think off the top of my head what some of their others were. I think there was one recently that was kind of yellow and purple, which is maybe the closest I would have gotten, but I think maybe also they're a bit too big. Their palettes are kind of huge, and it's just then the bigger a palette is, the less likely I am to buy it, because I'm having to justify, you know, not like 1 to 6 to 12 shadows, but like up to 24 shadows, and looking at every single one of them being like, well, are they going to be totally redundant in my collection? If so, I'm not buying it. So yeah, I think Nomad palettes are a bit kind of big for me to really be into them. The last two are, alright, Clarity Cosmetics Apocalypse. This one, Clarity is also not a brand that I'm like super watching for all the time, but the reason that I wanted to talk about this one is because Clarity did the Mermazing, I think that's what it's called, the Mermazing palette. Kind of hate that pun, but that's okay. Palette palette names can't satisfy everyone, but the Mermazing one I almost bought. Like, I just think it is really beautiful. The Mermazing is like the rainbow matte, rainbow pastel palette, and I don't care that the mattes are super fucking pale, that's what everyone said, because I am really pale, so it wouldn't matter. I don't mind having to build them up even, that's fine. But actually the thing that stopped me was the packaging and the pan size. I do not like big pans of eyeshadow. I find it off-putting because I can't help but have a bit of a panning mentality when I look at all eyeshadows. I'm like, will I ever finish this? The answer doesn't have to be yes, but the answer at least should be like, I could maybe use 10% of it. Like, I mean, even then the answer really should kind of be yes. It should be that one day I could finish this, which is the case with some of my eyeshadows. But with a pan that size, I'm like, I just can't see an end to it. I'm like, this is like, I could pass this down 2 more generations. My daughter could use it, my granddaughter could use it, or my sons. Like, why is there so much eyeshadow in this palette? I don't get that. Anyway, basically, I was really drawn to that Mermazing color story and the shadows, but the size was too big, and I thought the name Mermazing was cringe as hell, and I didn't like the fish scales on the packaging. I still think it's beautiful. I still do, the palette. And now this Apocalypse palette that they've brought out, I think it looks pretty cool. I think it looks cool. It's not, again, like I said, I think with almost everything today, it's not for me. I think because those aqua colors are just not really my vibe. I don't wear aqua. I don't think it really, well, I was going to say I don't think it suits me, but really, like, I don't think that matters at all when it comes to colors. Most color makeup is just fun, and when it's done well, can suit literally anyone. But I think aqua is not a favorite for me, I guess is what I would say. But yeah, I think the concept is cool, and it's cool for Halloween. I still like Clarity. I think they also did like a snake palette at one point that was kind of blue and green. Also, not really my color story, but it did look really beautiful. Props to them. I wish they would make smaller eyeshadows though, because then I would probably, you know, pull my head out of my ass and like actually buy that Mermazing palette because it's stunning. Okay, last one is the Shroud collab with Hello Bean. No, with Beauty Bean, and it's called Hello Bean. That looks, yeah, to me this one looks very cute. I think my main thought is that the Shroud collab with Beauty Bean last year, I like that color story more. I think that appealed to me more maybe with the pastel. I don't know if there were pastel purples or if I'm imagining that because I sort of duped the vibes using my own shadows. But I think there's kind of like, yeah, like a yellow toned green was in there with a purple, and I do think like a yellowy green and a purple looks so good together. I really like that. This year I feel like they've gone a bit more classically Halloween because they've put in orange for the pumpkins, right, of course. But I do think, yeah, as far as collabs go, it's so appropriate. It so fits for the creator. It fits for the brand. It makes so much sense. I love when like brands and creators, like when there are collaborations, when it just makes sense and you're like, yeah, you just went for it. You did what you like. You delivered what you enjoy. That's nice. So props to them. Props to Betty Jean and to Shroud. And again, I think it'll do really well. I mean, yeah, I'm just happy for people enjoying these releases. Like, if anyone watching has bought or will buy any of these things, I hope you really enjoy them. I hope they bring you joy. I hope it's gonna be really fun. I love when makeup actually appeals to me. Like, obviously this time, there's nothing really where I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna buy it. But I do want that to happen. I do actually like when there's something that's so beautiful and so unique or so me that it hooks me in. It hasn't happened this time. Maybe it will next time. I will definitely do another one of these. I don't think I'll do it as a get ready with me because clearly most of my face is still not done. So I'm just gonna do that in my own time after this. But yeah, this has been fun. I hope you're all having a great time wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Or if you're not having a great time, you know, taking time for yourself, getting rest if you can, and just being kind to yourself. But yeah, have a good one. Bye everyone.